I want to go on and give you a few more specifics. My campaign theme is education equals jobs. And I chose this theme because education is our highest priority, and an educated workforce is essential to improving the economy. There is not a strong focus on public education as a system in Columbia. So I've committed myself to be that someone to go up there and try to make a difference. This morning, George and I attended Tim Scott's conference on the economy. It was called Revitalizing Our Economy. And we had a chance to listen to speaker after speaker, the CEO of the Intertech Group, the CEO of Boeing, you name it, they were there. Prominent business people, people who were involved in our global economy, to people who are creating jobs and businesses in South Carolina. And as I listened, I wrote lots of things that they talked about: partnerships, the importance of networking with each other, the importance of having a business-friendly climate in South Carolina. But the underlying theme was that education was the most important factor for them as businesses, for them to bring employees to our state, and for them to have a skilled workforce. So I just felt very confirmed in my thoughts that education equals jobs. I know it's important, and was very encouraging to hear the business community also reaffirming that particular connection between those two elements. And so I want to work. I understand. I get it. I really do get what they're talking about. And that's why I would like to go to Columbia. I know that we need to improve education. There's many things that we need to do. Kind of look at it that if we could get education on the radar screen, we could do more about it. And I'll give you a little funny story. When George and I first moved to Charleston, we were pretty much just out of graduate school. We really didn't have much furniture. In fact, we had crates and boxes and bricks and bean bags and that kind of thing. And people came into our home and kind of looked at us and said, you know, they didn't say anything, but you could tell what they were thinking. And I said to George, you know, we're kind of growing up now. Maybe we ought to think about having real furniture. And we had a plan. And you know, guess what? With a plan in mind, we eventually got real furniture in our home. And that's kind of how I think about this. I think if we have a real plan and a real commitment to good public education, then we will be able to forge those partnerships. We will be able to have programs that build from the ground up. For example, early childhood programs are essential. Little ones need to start learning as quickly as they can, and the more disadvantaged the children are, the more important early childhood education is to them. In fact, we heard manufacturers saying today they need to start learning about manufacturing things when they're little, working with those Legos, building blocks and systems and that type of thing. We also need a strong K through 12 curriculum that helps students build a skill set that will help them change jobs. Listen to this, change jobs 10 or more times in their lifetime. How many of you have had more than one job in your lifetime? Me too. And when I started that store, understand that I was a biology major in college. And my master's degree was in biology and education. And my doctorate was in educational leadership. So how did somebody like me, with a background like that, start a retail business? Well, I knew how to plan, I knew how to organize, I knew how to network, I knew how to communicate with people, and I was able to start a successful business. So those kinds of skills are absolutely critical for our children to learn. And when I was at Academic Magnet, one of the proudest things I think our students did in that career was to work on a thesis, which was all problem-based. And I would say to them, when they were struggling, you got to figure out how to go over, under, around, or through. Because that's what life is about. Life is a problem. And you're going to have to solve it, and you're going to have to step forward. What I found many of the students doing was they would start the project, and then the person they were working with wouldn't return their phone calls. And they would just, that alone could just stop them dead in their tracks. And then when they returned to school in the fall, Patrick and I would have to get behind them, prod them, encourage them, and show them how to move something forward. And that was the beauty of what they were learning, was how to take an issue, take a problem, and learn to solve it. So I'm really big on us having a strong, comprehensive curriculum that includes literacy, because everyone needs to know how to read. But they don't get jobs just because they can read. They get jobs because they know math and science and technology and art and social studies and PE, all those kinds of things that make for an enriched curriculum. And we have to really work on this graduation rate. We must find ways to keep students in school. For them, we need to find ways to build their skills so they can be successful in school. And we need to recognize that not everyone's going to college. And today, George and I learned of wonderful jobs that pay very well, that don't need a college education, but they need skills. They need the understanding of reading and math and problem solving and technology. And so we need to really work on establishing apprenticeships and good colleges and technical skills, so that our students, when they leave us in K-12, can really continue their career preparations. We must ensure teachers have smaller class sizes and living wages. If you would step into a classroom of 25 or 30 third graders or first graders or kindergarteners, you would find the challenge that our teachers have day in and day out. It's a skill, and it comes from the heart, and those kinds of things are important. But teachers are only human, and when the class size is so large, they cannot reach and touch and interact with each student. So how we fund schools is really important, so that we can have smaller class sizes, and we can have teachers of high quality, because they can have a living wage. It distresses me greatly when I go out for dinner and in our interaction with the waiter or waitress find out that they are a teacher by day and working by night. That is very distressing to me, and I just don't think that that speaks really well for what we are doing with education. And we must stop furloughing teachers, because that reduces their time in the classroom. The best schools in the world are usually schools that have 240 days of education, and in the United States we're at 180 in most of our states. So when you look at what we're trying to teach children, the volume of things that they have to learn, and you all know it as parents and grandparents. You all know, you look at your grandchildren and you see them doing things that you could not or did not do when you were a child, and you begin to realize how much they have to learn. And we're still working with a very short amount of time. And so when we furlough teachers, we take even more time away. So we can't have these critical elements if we are proposing voucher schemes and an outdating funding formula. You will hear me say that over and over again. To improve jobs, we must support small business owners and give them the tax breaks corporations enjoy. And we must have that educated, skilled workforce so that when big companies like Boeing come to our communities, it's our people in South Carolina who get those jobs. There are, of course, many, many other issues of importance: clean energy, our infrastructure, affordable health care, transportation, housing, safe communities, and care of our coastal environment. We need to make a lot of changes in South Carolina. Someone has once defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over. And when you realize what our political scene has been in South Carolina, we have very similar leadership in the governor's office. We have very similar leadership in the legislature that doesn't bring about much diversity or divergent thinking. And we need to do that. I'm looking forward to being the petition candidate because I think that it's going to be important to really try to be more bipartisan, for us to figure out how to collaborate and cooperate and understand each other. Because right now we're spinning our wheels. We're not getting anywhere fast. And we need to get places, we need to do better because our world is getting more complex with this global economy and we have to be competitive. So I'm committed to work diligently as your representative for Kiowa, Seabrook, James Island, and Folly Beach, and I would appreciate your vote very much in November.